Today's question, or today's thoughts: can you get top-end professional level strong or athletic or enduring or whatever without actually having to be a professional, okay, or spending a professional level of time? So a question I get, or people think about me and say to me is, well, you do this for a living, so you have all the time in the world. Well, actually I do a lot of stuff, and I don't have as much time as you think. But when you condense down the training that I do, it really isn't all that time consuming, okay? But it's set up to be efficient in that way, and that's one of the things to get there, to really get to the top end level, is yes, you do have to do a lot of work. Now, I don't believe you necessarily need a ton of volume work in the intermediate levels of lifting, okay, to really get big and strong. I believe you need some very heavy work and some work in any little area there, okay, in any possible area. Some work in single level repetitions, high level, absolute max strength, some in middle repetitions, some in strongman, some in isometrics, some in partial work, some in single joint exercises, some in body weight exercises, some in endurance exercises, some in easy endurance exercises, some in mobility, flexibility. All those things need to work together, especially if you're not going to end up with roadblocks, okay, along the way. A lot of people, get there, but they try to skip steps in building their bases or in building up their ability to really get to the top end stuff. And you absolutely can't do it. You won't be able to progress to the highest levels of strength and endurance, especially combined strength and endurance, if you skip steps or if you neglect the other stuff, because eventually the other stuff that gets involved becomes crucial, okay? If you neglect mobility and things like that, well, you get so bound up from the other work that you won't be able to do, and it stops progressing, okay? Can't skip steps. So the real question is this: how much time do you work out? Do you have to have multiple hours a day? Do you have to train 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, like the old-time bodybuilder, the 70s bodybuilders guys, or even 2 hours twice a day? I don't honestly think so. I don't honestly think you can prove that gives you the biggest bang for your buck, or certainly the most pure, absolute ability to gain muscle. In fact, if you're not figuring in, exogenous substances and steroids and stuff like that, I don't think the average person can get away with that. Okay, you're going to be better off by having complete recovery, or at least very close to complete recovery, and by being efficient. Okay, don't waste a lot of time warming up. Don't waste a lot of time between sets. Plan your workouts so that over a period of time you've touched every piece of the puzzle: strength, speed, endurance, flexibility, mobility, athleticism, non-linear strength, different types of strength that need to be addressed along the way, different muscles you want to build. I could get away with, and I have, especially when I happen to be touring or doing other things where I'm very busy, gotten away with just a couple of hours of workouts a week. Now, a lot of times I work out a little bit more than that because I purely enjoy it. And if you add it up on the easy stuff where it's just walking or, Qigong type stuff where it's relaxation, yeah, it's more than a couple of hours. But the hard work doesn't take more than a few hours. In fact, I'm really suspect of most people when they talk about, I work out 2 hours a day. Let me tell you something. If you work out 2 hours a day and you're not absolutely beat to death from it, you're resting a lot between sets, okay? The endurance type work that I do, or the high repetition stuff, or the circuit type stuff, even the heavy stuff that I do, you can't do 2 freaking hours without 10-minute sets of rest between, or that kind of thing. A human can't survive it, okay? You can do amazing things in very short amounts of time, but you got to be very smart, okay? Here's what you got to do. You got to have a solid base of everything to work off of, because you can't waste a lot of time, okay? Base building does take some time, takes some effort, takes some thought, and takes some energy. But once you've got it done, you can be super efficient and very fast. Now, you have at least one workout a week for every major structure of the body that is strength-oriented. Heaviest weight you can move on your favorite exercise for that particular thing, and you track that all the time. Never deviates. Now, doesn't mean you can't change exercises, but you need long periods of time getting really good at very specific exercises, but you don't need a ton of it. You don't have to do 50 sets of an exercise. If you like it and you want to do that, that's fine. Now, I don't look at the other things I do from an endurance perspective. For instance, high repetition snatches or swings or sled pushing, that kind of thing, as a real volume perspective. I look at that from a endurance perspective. But It's really easy to put that stuff together and get all that bang for your buck without a lot of extra. In other words, you can't really prove that doing it more often than once a week on any of those things, on an average, this is just very generalization here, is going to get you there faster or get you more out of it. So more than that, you're doing for a couple of reasons. You just enjoy it, okay? Or it can be helpful to do more exercise in a body composition thing, okay? If you have trouble, like I have trouble, you know, everybody has their genetic plus and minus. Mine is staying leaner, okay? So the more total stuff you can do to burn calories, yeah, the better. But when you're talking about the top end of strength, endurance, muscle, it doesn't have to be super time consuming. You don't have to, you know, give up your whole life. You can get professional level results without massive time commitment. In fact, one of the things I think is the real point of this, okay, is to be able to get that level of results, because that level of results allows you to do the things you really want to do, okay? So for me, working out is not just about being at the gym. Now, I do that because those are the things I love to do, is passionate about, and they are their own point for me. But the other point is to be able to take that out somewhere and play with it, to be able to actually go and do things and play and walk around and do the stuff that, you know, humans should have fun doing, not just all the time being locked and chained to your barbell, okay? And if you're spending 8 hours a day at the gym and you're not a professional athlete that's actually getting paid for it, you're missing a lot of life. But you can have life with big, strong, powerful muscles that can do stuff really in the real world on a few hours a week. The time commitment is not very, very heavy, and your results on that comparatively are amazing, but you got to do the heavy work. Got to get a few reps on some things, got to get some endurance stuff going on there, and you got to think it all out and plan it through. And then you start taking steps to really take that, make every piece of it as high as you can, and then jump off from there and get to go play and do stuff, but jump off from there and do some really high level stuff where your efficiency gets amazing, where you get to where you can do strength, absolute top end level strength, or muscle building heavy work with endurance work in ways that most people have never even thought of. We've got brand new DVDs coming out. Our 2015 Muscle Challenge is on super muscle, and that's kind of what I'm talking about here. Muscle that can be at absolute maximum oxidative capacity and absolute size and strength capacity in the same workout, super fast, efficient, and can display that in the real world, because the real world, if you're really being smart about preparing for life and just living the life you want to live and having that ability to live that rowdy life, doesn't allow you to have a weak base, doesn't allow you to have a weakness and get away with it. It punishes you for having weaknesses and gaps in your strength. And that super muscle concept of strong at everything, all the time, strength, endurance, absolute top levels for everything, that's my way of getting to it. So our first DVDs are on that. We got 12 weeks of a DVD or a book every week, and I think you guys will love it. And don't spend your whole life in the gym. Build your human ability, build your human vehicle to the best it can possibly be, and you can get it super efficient, and then go out and do some fun stuff. Hang out, be amazing.